Hey, welcome back. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How the stories we tell ourselves in the dark can become more real than the world around us. How a single shout, misunderstood, can unravel an entire army. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Flashpoints, the wars that shaped us. Today, we're going to talk about a battle that never should have happened. A conflict where the only true enemy was the human mind, spinning fiction out of the fog of night. This is the story of the Battle of Karánsebes, the night an army defeated itself. Picture this: the autumn of 1788. The Habsburg Empire, a sprawling, multi-ethnic giant, is at war with the Ottoman Empire. A massive Austrian army, over 100,000 strong, is camped along the Timiș River near a town called Karánsebes, in modern-day Romania. This isn't a uniform, monolithic force. It's a patchwork. You have Austrian Germans, Hungarian Hussars, Czechs, Poles, Serbs, Croats, and more. They don't all speak the same language. They're tired, on edge, marching through unfamiliar territory. The air is thick with rumors of Ottoman cavalry scouts nearby. So, the commander, Emperor Joseph II, orders his vanguard to cross the river and set up a defensive perimeter. The main army settles in on the near bank for the night. And that's when the trouble starts. Some of the Hussars, scouting ahead, come across a group of local Romanians, or maybe some gypsy traders. And these traders have something very valuable: schnapps. Lots of it. The Hussars, being clever, buy up the barrels and start a little private party. Soon after, some infantry from the main camp stumble upon this merry scene. They want in. The Hussars, not wanting to share their precious booze, refuse. A heated argument breaks out. Shouts, shoves. To keep the infantry out, a few Hussars decide to be dramatic. They fire shots into the air and yell what they think is a universal deterrent. They yell, "Tursi! Tursi! The Turks! The Turks!" And in that moment, the story takes over from reality. The infantry, hearing gunshots and a foreign-sounding cry, don't hear a drunken prank. They hear a battle cry. They believe the Ottoman attack has begun. They turn and run, crashing back toward the main camp in a blind panic. But the main camp, hearing this terrified mob rushing toward them in the pitch dark, hearing the shouts of "Tursi" in a language many don't understand, makes its own story. They assume the running men are the Turks. So, the officers give the order: form defensive lines. Fire at will. Can you imagine the scene? The sheer, catastrophic confusion? Men are now firing at their own comrades, who are firing back, each convinced the other is the enemy. The shouts in German, Hungarian, Czech, all blending into a terrifying, incomprehensible roar. Officers screaming for order in languages their men can't understand. A cavalry unit, hearing the musket fire, assumes Ottoman cavalry has broken through and launches a desperate charge, right into their own formations. The panic becomes a virus, spreading through the entire camp. Entire regiments break and flee, abandoning supplies, weapons, artillery. They're not running from the Ottomans. They're running from a ghost they created. By morning, the chaos has burned itself out. The field is littered with the dead and wounded, victims of friendly fire, trampling, drowning in the river. Estimates vary wildly, from a few hundred to several thousand casualties. The army is shattered, demoralized, its supply train plundered by its own retreating soldiers. And when the actual Ottoman army arrives 2 days later, they find not a formidable force to engage, but a scene of bizarre, self-inflicted carnage. They simply walked in and took Karánsebes without firing a single shot. The battle was already over. The Austrians had lost it for them. Now, I have to pause here and say, as an engineer, this story fascinates me on a systemic level. Historians debate the exact details. Some think it might be more folklore than strict fact, a composite of several smaller incidents of friendly fire. But the core truth it represents is undeniable and repeated throughout history. It's a perfect case study in system failure. You had a complex system, the army, with poor communication protocols between its different components, operating under high stress with low visibility. A single point of failure, that false shout, introduced a corrupted signal. And because there was no way to verify the signal, no common language or clear chain of command to halt the feedback loop, the system went into catastrophic cascade. It's what we'd call a total breakdown of signal-to-noise ratio. The noise became the only signal. But beyond the engineering metaphor, this story hits me on a human level, as someone who's lived between cultures. I'm Ibnul, from Bangladesh, living in New York. I know what it's like to be in a place where languages overlap and sometimes collide, where a misunderstood word or gesture can create a tiny, personal Karánsebes. We all live in these patchwork empires now. Our cities, our online communities, our workplaces. And we all carry our own internal tensions, our own fears of the other, even when the other is the person in the next cubicle or on the other side of a political divide, or just someone from a different part of our own company. The soldiers at Karánsebes weren't killed by the Ottomans. They were killed by the story of the Ottomans. They were killed by the version of reality that formed in the fear-filled space between a shout and an ear. How often do we do that today? We hear a piece of information, a headline, a rumor that fits our existing fear, our tersi, and we fire before we verify. We retreat into our defensive positions. We charge against phantoms of our own making, and we break community with people who are, in fact, on our same side. We are all, at times, part of that panicked, multilingual army in the dark, shooting at shadows we've convinced ourselves are real. So what's the takeaway from this almost absurd, tragic footnote in history? For me, it's a stark reminder to always question the first shout in the dark, to seek the source of the noise before I mobilize my defenses. It's a call to build systems, in our teams and in our own minds, that prioritize clear communication and verification over assumption. To remember that the most dangerous enemy is often not the one across the river, but the one we imagine in the fog. Thanks for listening to this episode of Flashpoints. If this story of miscommunication and its devastating costs resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd share the show with one person who'd appreciate it. For more deep dives into the forgotten corners of history, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This is Ibnul J. Farabi, reminding you that history isn't just about what happened. It's about understanding the echoes. Flashpoints is a production of Light Knot Studios. Visit us at lightknotstudios.com. Until next time, take care.